That incredibly bright, slightly reddish object up there in the sky is the planet Mars. And it really is bright. It's worth trying to get outside over the next couple of weeks if you can to take a look, because that's the brightest the red planet is going to appear in our sky until 2035. What we're looking at here is Mars in opposition. That's what astronomers call it when a planet is directly opposite the sun in the sky. So we're effectively looking at a full Mars here, a bit like a full moon. What this means in astronomical terms is that the Sun, the Earth and Mars are in a straight line in space. So Earth and Mars are in the same position in their orbits. This means that opposition is the time when Mars makes its closest approach to the Earth before we overtake it on the inside and continue on around our orbit, only to catch up with it again 2 years and 2 months later. The reason Mars is quite so bright is because of this combination of the closest approach to the Earth and being directly opposite the Sun in the sky, meaning it reflects the maximum possible amount of light for us to observe. However, Mars's orbit is quite a long way from being a perfect circle, which leads to a few strange phenomena. Firstly, the time of opposition and the time of closest approach to the Earth are often around the same, but not exactly the same. For example, the closest approach to the Earth is actually tonight as I record this, on October the 6th, but opposition won't be for another week, on the night of October the 13th and 14th. It also means that not all oppositions are created equal. An opposition occurs when we overtake Mars on the inside every 2 and a bit years, but how bright it looks at opposition depends on how close Mars is to us on that particular occasion. Mars was actually at its brightest at the last opposition in 2018, when opposition coincided almost precisely with Mars being at the closest point in its orbit to the Sun, and therefore closest to the Earth. But the point of closest approach to the Sun and opposition are now sliding out of sync, so Mars will get dimmer with each appearance until a maximally mediocre opposition in 2027. Then it'll get brighter again, ready for a few more spectacular oppositions in the mid-2030s, culminating in September 2035. And put a date in your diary for August 2050, when it's going to be even brighter, because the closest approach of Mars to the Sun and opposition will coincide even more closely than in the 2030s. Because Mars is opposite the Sun in the sky at the moment, that means that it rises in the east at sunset and sets in the west at sunrise. And that means if you wait until a late evening, it should be reasonably high in the southwest. Nice and easy to spot, and you don't even need to go to bed too late. Mars, with its reddish hue, is an absolutely beautiful sight, so don't miss this opportunity to see it at its brightest.